Welcome to the Kaur Show. This is episode 27. Thank you all for joining us today after a 1 week break. We hope you've had a lovely break over the Christmas period and the New Year's too. I'm Ranjit Kaur from the UK, and here with me is my co-host Garinda Kaur from Melbourne. She is here. Oh no, she is. You're on mute, Benji.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Benji, how are you?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. And welcome to 2021.
Yes. How was your break?
I think it was much needed and it was a great break. And otherwise, to 2021 has begun.
The Samagams as well. You're so fortunate.
I know. We were so lucky, Benji, that we had the Samagam, but straight after the Samagam, we actually have I don't know how long will it go, but we had a third wave, we can say, which is now in Melbourne, and we have approximately, I think, 32 cases back in Victoria. So that's a bit of concern and, a bit sad as well, because the borders are again closed with Victoria and New South Wales, and a number of people are stuck in quarantine, and, that's really something which has ruined their holiday. So, yeah, but what can we do? That's it, what it is.
It's really sad. And even here in West Midlands, we're back in tier 4, so it's back to lockdown. And you can't go anywhere, although it is snowing, raining and miserable out there. But still, the restriction at home is it's not fun at all. And then not fun at all is the protest in India is still happening as well. So the farmer support, and it's really sad what's happening there. And it's raining there as well.
Yeah, it's raining heavily, and Penji, more than 40 farmers, who were protesting there, even the young youth as well as, old people, they have died over there because of multiple reasons, which is really sad. And the government hasn't been doing any efforts to save lives. And I was reading today that there is no ambulances available on the side. The government is really making no efforts, which is really, really bad.
It's really sad. And then in the last few days, you've had Bihar, they've started protesting, and it's brutality from the police. It's absolutely terrible how they've been treated in a peaceful protest. So it's really upsetting. Really upsetting.
At the same time, this is not something unexpected. This is something expected from the Indian government. We have seen a history of such brutal experiences where the common man, which is protesting very peacefully, has been taken to the ground, which is of course.
It's terrible. But out there, wherever you can, the idea is to make noise about the farmers with our families, friends, and share a post on social media, because it seems like not all TV channels want to do this for us. So we have to be the ones doing this. And that's why I daily try and do this on my social media. So where you can help, please help. But today on our show, we have Navleen Kaur, Sardarni Navleen Kaur from the UK, and our topic is Khalsa Fostering, a charity focused on actively encouraging foster parents to care for Sikh children. So this would definitely be an interesting topic, as fostering is not something you hear in our culture or within us Punjabis. So it's another taboo topic, like adoption is. But fostering is something that we're going to be talking about today. I mean, Benji, do you talk about fostering much, or is it something you've heard of? Or
very interesting, Benji. Definitely, I think the Khalsa fostering, or even the term fostering itself, I heard first time in Australia. I never knew there was any such term as well. And truly speaking, I actually investigated a little bit about this many years back when I didn't have my only daughter. I was feeling hopeless whether I will have any kids in my life or not. And I started looking into the options, and I came around this fostering option. I spoke to, a few organizations as well, just to get an idea about this. At the same time, when I was struggling to have a baby as well. And I got some information, and I definitely think, this is really a boon for the kids who have been left behind and, who don't have anyone to look after. And we'll talk more about it.
Yes. So let's welcome our guest to the show and find out more. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
How are you?
How are you? No, we're great, thank you.
Thank you,
So
Benji, being the first guest of the Kaur Show in 2021.
Yeah, 2021. Thank you. Both Namaste to Happy New Year to all of you guys. And let's just pray, like we said, about the farmers, that they stay safe
Yeah,
and well and that we don't lose any more.
yeah,
Because it's a
definitely,
difficult situation today for them. So keep them in
definitely.
place.
So Benji, if you can tell us about yourself, your background of the Khalsa Fostering and how this came about as well, that would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, so Khalsa Fostering, about 19, 20 months ago, I had just a normal a meeting with somebody in the Department for Education here in the UK, because I'm an educational consultant by profession, and I used to be an assistant principal and have worked in Sikh schools pretty much most of my career. And it came to our attention that more and more Sikh children were going into fostering. Um, so if more and more Sikh children are going into fostering, we need more and more families, surely, to look after them. But since we started doing some research, we realized that the rise of children going into care from our background was almost tripling. And the unfortunate thing was we didn't have Sikh parents who were fostering. So it seemed like, well, this is not clear ground. Why is this not happening? And I think in hindsight, what we've realized is it seems to be that people just don't know. People don't know that you can foster. People don't know what fostering is about. And there's an awareness out there that children need help, but they don't know how to help them and what the procedures are. You know, you need to be over 21, have a stable income, and be able to do this job, which is to take care of a child who doesn't have anyone to look after them. So
absolutely.
yeah, I mean it's been hard, but it
Mm.
started the journey, and I'm pleased to say that last year, the end of last year, we registered a community interest company. There's now 6 of us on our team. We're all UK based, mostly in the Midlands, so from Ranjit Banshi's area. And we've just come together as a group, as a team, to spread the information out there, build the awareness, have workshops, work with young people, work with agencies, work with foster care, children's support services, and also working with the Sangat, because without the Sangat and the power of the Sangat and the love of the Sangat, we can't do any of this. So this, platform that you've provided is extremely important.
That's right, Penji. Just to clarify more on the fostering care as well, could you maybe bit elaborate on the difference between adoption and fostering?
Yeah, so okay, so adoption is when you take on a child from birth or whatever age you decide to take that child on, 10, 12, 15, but they stay with you in your home permanently, and that's like your child. Um, you have a legal obligation to tell the child once they're 18, that their parents couldn't look after them or whatever happened. But they're with you and that's it. So it's more stable, I will say, or it's more known, and more people will do it. But with fostering, I think the hesitation is you don't know who needs you. So there could be an emergency, a respite situation where a child has encountered something terrible, and at home it might have been loss of a parent, bereavement. It could be some kind of other difficult situation, crisis at home, and they need someone to look after them immediately for 2 weeks, 10 weeks, 3 months, 4 months, and then eventually they might get adopted, or with Guru's Kirpa, they might be able to go back to their family because their family need rehab work or, reconciliation, so that the child is then safe to go back again. So it's very tricky, and I think less people want to do it. Maybe I don't know the reasons, but I think personally, I just feel that nobody likes the instability, and they're not sure how long the child will stay for them or how long they're needed. So you just have to be permanently ready to receive a child. And once a child comes to you, you have to really, it's like a seva. I think it's the biggest seva we can do. We feed people, we talk to them, we look after them. But here it's somebody who really doesn't have anywhere to go. And if you have a spare room in your house and you can just take care of someone just like a family member until they get back on their feet, or if it's more long term and you're somebody who can't have a child or doesn't feel that they're able to look after someone for a long time but wouldn't mind doing it for a little while, then this is for you, really. But I'm not sure why out there, either one, before we didn't know, or there was no awareness, or two, I think there's a taboo about kisi hor da bacha, somebody we don't know, or somebody's coming into our house. If it's a Sikh child, that's fine. If it's a different faith child, or I'm not sure what kind of background they are from. I mean, it's in today when we talk about Manis ki Jaat, we talk about Sarbat da Pala, and we talk about all humanity is on, like the farmers we just spoke about in India. They're not just Sikhs, they're everyone together, suffering in the rain, in the cold. There's suffering, and they're all one, a humanity. In the same way, these children are one humanity, and they need our help. And nobody seems to think that this is our job. And we want to make sure Khalsa Fostering is very dedicated to making sure this is our job and we are going to do it right.
No, thank you so much for that. When children are placed into care, who determines at that moment where they will be placed? At the moment, how does the system work?
So it's there's different ways of how they get in there and what happens, but normally it's always to social services here in the UK. So when there's a issue with a child, social services will come in. They're from the local area, and they'll say, right, this child needs to be removed from their house. We need to find somewhere for them to go that's safe. And they will streamline that. Either they'll go to an agency, or they have a group of names of foster care registered parents already on their list, and then they send them off. They try to match them as much as they can, but how can you match if there's nobody on the register that fit the same cultural, religious background as the children?
Benji, what made you to actually, get into this?
I think, Benji, the fact that I had been in schools and I'd worked with Sikh children most of my life, I think my inspiration started about 20 years ago. I went to Punjab, and when I qualified from university, I got my degree and I joined an organization, a humanitarian organization in Punjab, in rural Punjab, and I was training and teaching teachers. So Pinda which I jande si, really Garib areas, very poor rural areas. And I would see children just destitute, no money, no means of. In fact, the story is we went to a pind called Tallewal in a district Sangrur, Tehsil Barnala. It was really very, very, very poor area, I'll say, yeah. And we were living there as a team, learning about Gurbani. We had a Gurdwara, we were managing our own mini Gurdwara. So we were learning about empowering ourselves. And each one of us, so the accountant, he would work with the Patwari. If you were a doctor, you would work with a local homeopath. I was an educationalist. I'd qualified in the UK as a teacher, so I worked in schools. And when I went in there, I saw that all the rickshawale and the other children who couldn't afford the 1,000 rupees fees weren't getting an education. So what we decided to do was, after school finished, and the people who could afford to pay from the pin, they went home. We opened the school for, the underprivileged children. And we were met with a battle. Can you believe? The battle was, you're not going to believe this, but actually, you probably will, was that sade bache, asi jat honde ha, sade bache ਉੱਥੇ ਬਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਰਿਕਸ਼ੇ ਵਾਲੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਬੈਠਦੇ ਜਾਂ you know the lower caste or whatever you want to call it. I mean, it's not something I was used to. So they were really angry with us, saying, well, we pay money for our children to go to school, and when school closes, you open the school. England, America, the Canada, their teacher on there, and we met with that kind of adversity, saying, you're not allowed to teach the underprivileged. They're not allowed to sit on the same stools or the benches as our children because we pay and they can't afford to pay. And we were doing this seva. We were not on salaries or anything, right? It was like, excuse me, it's like a gap year for me. It ended up being more than a year, as you can imagine. But when I met children in that situation in destitute homes, then we started going to orphanages. Then we found out about 84, how many thousands of children had one parent or no parent because of what had happened. And I'm obviously, remember, I'm talking about 20 years ago, not now. This is when this happened. So when I came back to the UK, I did a master's in educational psychology at Cambridge, always wanting to go back to Punjab and work with these people, thinking I need more ed training on trauma. And here in the UK, I met it again. I was quite surprised that working in schools here in the UK, I met more and more kids who were traumatized because of what was going on in their lives. It wasn't like Punjab. I'm not going to say the problems were the same, but they were the similar, the line of problems were the same, feeding from the same kind of catalyst, which is you need that change. And this wasn't happening at all. People weren't being supported. And then children in the UK were being taken into fostering or care by social services because they were unhappy at home. They were cutting themselves. They were distraught. They were upset at home, a lot of mental health issues. And that, I think I hit the iceberg when I saw more and more. And, after 20 years, I thought, I can't do this anymore because I wasn't allowed as a teacher employed by the government to help them in the way I wanted to help them, because there's only so much you can do. There's red tape. You can't go as far as this. You have to report this. You have to write a child protection portfolio. You have to meet the social services. And it was just, I felt like I wasn't getting anywhere. And that's when I decided, no, I'm going off on my own. And I'm not on my own. Guru mere naal hai, and taking Guru Nanak Dev Ji with me, I decided to start this journey. And luckily, I had a really great friend who joined. She's on the team now as an advisor. We've got Jassi up in Midlands, who's a child. She's in her 30s now with 2 children, but she was a child of 5 with her sister Kiran, and 5 of them were taken into care because their father passed away and there was some issues at home for the mother not being able to cope. So 5 children went into care. She's on my team as well. We've got Narinder Penji, who's human resources manager and accountant. So, everybody just came together. And if you look at khalsafostering.org on our page, you'll see all about our history, why we started. But if you tell me kyo kita, I'll have to say Punjab. That was my inspiration. The Sikhs of Punjab, these, great people like 1469 who are now, brands, and these were grassroots people who supported us. There was lots of people who said, we can do this together. And those are the people that stood with us, and they still are with us, supporting us and helping us. And I think activism, has to be the key. So it's still going on. But without Sangat, it doesn't work. You need the Sangat support, you need the asra of the Guru, and know that Guru Sahib is with you. So I feel like I'm not employed by the UK government. My employer is Guru Nanak. I work for Guru. And then Guru makes everything happen because I don't have to worry, right? If your employer is the Guru, fir kada fikr, right? Because
That's really,
he's going to take care of it.
I think absolutely fantastic. And yes, thanks to 1469. And it's great to hear that, you're being supported by them and they're great. And they're also supporting us with all the comments and, sharing stories about their meeting with yourself as well and experience, which is great. So Benji, talking about Khalsa fostering, I know you already said that, all humanity is one and no differentiation, but is Khalsa fostering specifically for Sikh people, or other kids are welcome as well?
Absolutely, Benji. It's a very, very good question. I'm really glad you asked it. So yes, I'm not going to, tell you something that's not true. We started this for Sikh children originally. Ke apne bache, social services could not find or match. So what happens is they say, right, this is an Asian child. It's coming into care. Let's find an Asian family in Leicester or Coventry or London that can look after this. So Asian is a very big term. Okay, so you can imagine Asian, which bade denominations are in there, religions are in there, cultures. And what was happening is, as I said before, we couldn't match Sikh children to Sikh families because there weren't enough. So Khalsa Fostering is helping people to become Sikh children, to find Sikh families, to match them with them. But of course, we are no way close to people from other faiths, other religions. I have foster parents who are Sikh, and they're looking after a little colored child, Caribbean child, or a Gora, a white boy, or a Chinese girl, or a Japanese boy. So there are Sikh parents and who have been doing fostering quietly. And I think this term about being quiet, कि दसना नहीं असीं की कर रहे, I don't even understand why that is. I would celebrate, if I was doing that. But some people feel maybe a bit of ashamed. I don't know why. They don't want to talk about why they're doing it. But you get a lot of money from the government. So each child that goes into care, the government gives you £400 on average for that child to look after them. And it comes depending on if the child has special needs or they have special learning difficulties or anything else. You are provided that money to look after that child. And it's not a shameful thing at all. It should be a celebration, I feel, that Tika, you open your doors, you've opened your home, and the government's supporting you and helping you do that. But it is important that you have the space, a nice, safe home. And our homes, I feel, are the best homes. No smoking, no drinking, a clean environment with a detox kind of space, clear, especially for practicing Sikhs who would have that nurturing and hopefully happy home where they can look after this child and lift them from the pain that they're in.
You're absolutely right. I think maybe the stigma is attached because this topic isn't talked about much, this or adoption. So I think if if it was spoken about much more, then it'd be like a norm. But even I don't know anyone in my family that's fostered or adopted at all. So we don't talk about it at all. It's something I would love to do, more adoption than fostering, because I don't think I want to take a child on and then let it go after a couple of weeks. I think I'd be attached, my children would be attached, and it'd be really hard for them. I have inquired this a long time ago, and they did say to me in Warwickshire that your youngest needs to be 2. And my youngest at the time was a baby, so they said no to that. But I do think my children would find it difficult if somebody came in for a couple of weeks and then they left. They'd get confused. So I'm not sure if it's a stage where they have to be older to deal with it, or we have to train them that in any honor, the whole training.
And it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have, you can negotiate this with your agency that, I want a minimum of 6 months or a year, or, it depends. Sometimes there is a respite situation where people just need emergency care for a week, 2 days, 24 hours, but it can be 10 months or two years. That is a problem. I do understand what you're saying about the long term, but then I see that nothing's forever, and that attachment is also, we care about them, we help them, but we don't own people. We just serve them. Just like we do in Langar, we don't take people home with us. We give them the food, we give them the care, and then we just pray that Vaheguru is with them. And I know it is very hard because people do get attached. But then, you're there and you've done such a big seva that you've looked after someone, and bunda kame, it's a big blessing to in our culture to koi vi karanda, speak to them nicely, give them some pani, look after them as your guest. We're taught that when we're young. So this is a way of just pushing that boundary, opening the skies and opening your home, and just being there. Whether it's short term or long term, that depends on the individual case.
So, Penty, just on the other side as well, just from the child side who is being fostered, do they like come to the same family? Like if they come like maybe for 3 months, um, they come after a break again to the same family, or do they go to different places? Like if there are circumstances where you can only foster a child for 3 months and you're going somewhere and you can't carry the child, maybe on holidays, will they go to a different family, and how does that
So,
work?
so there are different situations. I mean, when you become a foster parent, you make a commitment. It's very clear. You're saying, I am available, and the negotiation happens beforehand with the social services will say, we need you to take care for this child minimum for 6 weeks or 10 weeks or 1 year. We don't know what the situation is going to be. Or they might already know the situation that they can't go back to the situation that they're from, and they have to keep it up. So you would have that information beforehand, and you would negotiate that with the social services or your social worker or the team manager beforehand. And if you were going on holiday, mostly that child is part of your family. They come with you, and if they can't come with you because of a passport or something else, they might go somewhere else for a week while you take a break. There are all sorts of things that you can negotiate, and it's really well organized. The system's really, really rigorous. But all of this will happen. So the biggest thing is to become a foster parent. That's the first step, really, if anything else, because that's
So on the list that you have at the moment, are there many Sikh parents on that foster list?
Compared to other communities, no. But since we started this work, I'm really pleased to say that 200% has risen. We didn't have as many as we do now. And obviously, because we're a small charity and we haven't done any fundraising, we haven't, initially we started with nothing from anyone. But the more we get out there, and platforms like yours, Vanji, the more people realize who we are and what we do, we can spread more. And obviously lockdown and COVID hasn't really helped us, because we were planning to do like a big tour of all the gurdwaras and do stalls and get people registered and signed up and do talks in different sangat and explain, because the people in our community, unhone to pata hi nahi ki possible hai. They don't even know कि fostering hai ki cheez. So
Yeah, absolutely.
obviously, we've been a bit tied down. We haven't, to be honest, we've been wanting to we've done awareness days. So what we've done like this on Zoom or online, we've done, workshops and awareness days for people who want to become foster parents. But we want to get out there, want to reach the world and tell people you can do this. But, baby steps, Guru's making it happen slowly. And I think we've reached, a good number now. So we have to remember the catchment areas where Sikhs tend to live. So in the UK, we have pockets of the community, if we think of London or Birmingham or Slough, or where lots of Sikhs live. So we are targeting those areas quite conscientiously and talking to those foster agencies and those boroughs to say, well, if a Sikh child comes, please, let us know. We know, and more and more people are being registered, so they'll find, they'll look through their list for a Sikh child. They've got patka, they need their hair combed, they need an Amritari family, because the worst is when we've had children who have gone to non-Sikh homes and they wanted to do their part or comb their hair, and they've been told to go to the barber shop or eat something that was cooked in a way that's not, what. It's quite traumatic. They've gone through hell anyway. They've gone through such a difficult time and been separated from their families and their siblings, and then put into a place where nobody understands them. Even culture, even having roti, having dal or sabji, something they're used to, that, suddenly all you get is chips and beans or non-veggie food, and that's quite hard as well. So if we don't have enough parents, these struggles will continue, and our children will go into homes where, people are doing their best. I'm not saying they're not trying, but it's not culturally and emotionally what the child needs, because the person doing the fostering is not aware. So Khalsa Fostering is doing more. We're putting up videos, we're sending out packs to parents who are non-Sikh about, how to tie a patka, how to do jura, how could you make prashad, what's a day that you could take your child to a gurdwara, how can a gurdwara do an awareness day? So what that means is people who are fostering and they're not Sikh, they can come to the gurdwara and learn about our faith with the child, because that child has a right. If you think a parent who has named their child Mala, ya Gurdip Singh, ya I don't know, Bani Kaur, and then they're in somebody else's home, they had some consciousness came up in a bachinu Sikhi nal jorna, and then circumstances meant that they're not able to do that, right? Whether, like I said, it's divorce, alcoholism, bereavement, domestic violence, it could be anything. But when that child was born, they had some consciousness that the parents gave. So surely we, between us all over the globe, can nurture that consciousness for the child. And that's what Khalsa Fostering is trying to do. And I think, we're halfway there. We've started, we've got a website.
Yeah.
It
No, I
just
think this is really important. And Benji, as we said before as well, it's very little known in other parts of the country, as like of the world as well. Like in Australia, I was searching in the last week as well. There is no Sikh fostering care. We can specifically find it. I know with other religions, I can definitely find the foster cares, but I don't know if anyone even knows about this foster care at the moment. But hopefully, as the community is growing, not just in Australia but other parts of the world as well, I think, and also with the increasing rates of family violence cases, and many terrible stories that you read where parents die in some accident or something, and the children are just left behind.
yeah.
Definitely someone need to come up and take ownership, and we need foster care at that time. How Benji, how difficult is it to get started, like as setting up? I know different countries will have different rules, and I'm sure this might be taking years, years of research and everything.
I mean, Benji, it's not so hard. I mean, I'm not going to say it's easy, but it's not that difficult. So, what happens initially is you think, okay, pehla apna man banao. Your mind has to be, I'm ready to do this. And when you embark on that journey, you have to register with an agency. It could be private, it could be government, it could be borough based, and you fill in your credentials. They get in touch with you, and it can be almost a minimum of 3 or 4 months. And the people that we're working with more and more, they're helping us so much. Within 4 months, they've done all the checks. You'll be visited by a social worker. You'll have paperwork that you have to fill in, all your history, your family history, illnesses in the house, all sorts of things will be asked. And it is quite invasive. I'm not going to say it's easy, because it isn't. But they have to ensure that the place the child is going to is a safe home and stable home. And so they have to do their checks in order for them to be sure that the family this child is going into is a good family, is secure, is a safe and sacred place for that child to grow in. So anything from 3, 4 to I would say 6 months to register and do all the paperwork and the checks. But that also depends on you. So if you're really excited and interested and you're like, I'm going to do this, you drive it, and then you meet the right people and they carry that forward. And as soon as you be registered, then your doors are open. Children will be coming in. There are so many, Banji, so many children. Every day we get, there's 5 children here, 6 children here. Can you help us here? Every day we're learning more and more. We had a child 2 weeks ago somewhere in Birmingham, or the Midlands. I'm not sure exactly where he was located, but they were desperate. He was 15 years old and he needed somewhere to stay. And even the children's homes were full, because if you think about COVID, you think people are hesitant to open their doors now even more because of shielding or isolation. So some children are ending up being removed from their original foster carers, and the carers saying, well, actually I can't deal with this right now, and they're going into hotels. It's awful. Some boroughs are having to find rooms for children in different spaces. And I just think of that plight of that child. You and me and Benji, we all have children, all 3 of us. Imagine if that was Sada Bacha trying to settle down, education vi karni hai, getting on with, being a teenager or whatever. And then on top of that, you're removed from the only home that you finally adjusted to and sent somewhere else because nobody will look after you. It is really a painful thing, and it's not a joke. And it's increasing. Even South Asian children from our culture and community, there have been 4,000 more in the last 12 months than they were last year. So imagine, even if 3 or 4% of that was Sikh children. We're working with an organization and the government. In fact, I've spoken to, I don't know if you know, here in the UK, Tan Manjeet is a member of parliament, and he's helping me, some of his team, to get the Freedom of Information Act. It's a Freedom of Information is an act where we can find out, where more the statistics. It is hard because people don't want to say if it's a Sikh child. But another thing I want to share with you is you must let the Sangat know that if your child has to go into care for whatever reason, the parents have the right to say, I want a Sikh home for my child. So then, if they say, Manu Sikh parwar chaida, mere bacha has to go in a Sikh home, which the Jews, the Christians, everyone says that. We don't even know that. So we're not saying that. And if it's said and it's written on paper, they have to match you in a Sikh home because it becomes government and law. The law says government has a responsibility to put that child in a Sikh home. If some people will say, yes, I want to do that, but I don't think some people even know.
Again, it's not spoken much, and that's probably why it's like that. When you have the child with you after the 6 months of the process of applying and the vigorous checks, is there like a daily report or a journal that you have to complete when fostering to let them know how you're getting on, or an audit? How is it all checked? Do they come every month to see you, or?
It varies on the needs of the child, but you do have an assigned social worker. So they will give you a call, if they need to come and visit you. They don't come and visit like that unless there's a big problem or the child is unsettled or unhappy, or you are having issues, you contact. But you will always have a social worker assigned to you who will be able to be that go-between between you and the situation at hand. But yeah, you do have a little bit of paperwork to fill in, but it's not a daily thing or weekly thing. It's just, you do a check-in, make sure everything's well. You'll get a call just to make sure things are going well. Some people, are so happy, there's no issues, and it's just like having a child normally at home. There's no
Difference.
Yeah, there's no difference.
Yeah.
You do have a little bit of paperwork, obviously, just to maintain your files and for the record, but nothing major.
Does the fostering ever turn to adoption? Does it migrate? Can it migrate?
I think it can, but they are 2 different things. So if you want to adopt, it is a different avenue. And we at Khalsa Fostering, we're not going down the adoption route at the moment because there are adoption agencies out there. Fostering is in crisis. It really is needed. So I'm focusing with my team on just fostering for now. But I do get this question asked a lot. And the adoption agencies, as I said, are more permanent, and it's just one-off and it's done. Whereas this is more complicated and more interactive and more needed, as you said, because people are more hesitant to do it.
Yeah. Benji, how's your life personally been, transformed, or what change do you see in yourself since Khalsa Fostering has started?
Um, we need more hours in the day, I think. We were speaking a little bit about this before we started, didn't we? That, I'm also a mother and I have 3 children of my own. So I go through a battle nearly daily about, oh, you're on your computer and you're on your device,
Yeah.
you're always
So
working.
is your family supporting you in this initiative?
I mean, absolutely. If I didn't have the family that I have, the husband that I have, the children that I have, the parents that I have, and the brother that I have, I would not. I was no way I could have done this. It's practically impossible. And to be honest, it's more than a full-time job. You have to take out time. You have to be disciplined. You have to treat this as more than just a little bit of save on the side. It's more than a full-time job. And if you really want to make a difference, you have to take out the time to do this. And it's very hard because you want to do it really well and you want to give the best of yourself. So as I said, Jine Kante Waiguru ne dete 24 hours in the day. I need an extra 2 pair of hands and 2 pair of legs, whatever. It's never enough. I never feel like I'm doing enough. But as I said, I've got a very amazing team. Really, the social, I don't even I don't have to worry about Instagram or social media because somebody's taking care of that. And, all the areas are managed by different people. So it's not just me. Yeah, definitely the hard work started 18, 19 months ago. That as more and more, and we're looking for more people. Maybe today somebody's listening on the show and they're like, you know what? I can give 2 hours a week to Khalsa Fostering, or I can help. I can do some research. I can quietly make some phone calls. I can support a family. If there's anybody out there who wants to work and support us, this is a voluntary organization, a CIC. We don't, none of us are paid to do this, but from the goodness of your heart, if you have that time or you are inspired, then let us know. I mean, even Ranjit Panji, she's helped us. She's sent us books that we've sent out to, at Christmas time, we've had books from Panji who we've sent out to families who have, benefited. The Sikh Relief, Khalsa Aid, all the great basics of Sikhi have been great. We need more organizations to work together to promote this good work so that we can spread our wings and let people know who we are, what we, who our guru is, what we live for, our inspiration, and carry more and more children. I would love to see a day where there's no children in foster care and all the Sikhs have got, Jine, Kale, Gore, but they're looking after people. I would love to see that day because I believe that if we say Nanak Naam Chardi Kala Tere Pane Sarbat Ka Pan, if we say
That's
that,
absolutely true, Benji. And of course, I think awareness is the key, and we need more people to join this. And this is very unique and very inspiring seva. I think um, there are different types of seva. There are people doing seva on the Single border. There's a lot of different platforms. If one is willing, there are opportunities, and this is really something we need to to nurture our future generations as well. And this is very, very unique, I'll say. Benji, we've got a comment, and that's my personal question as well. How important it is, like, often one want to foster, but sometimes the partner doesn't agree and makes it difficult. Where do you go then?
that's a hard one. It has to be, unfortunately, it has to be a team effort. You can't have somebody in your home, just like when you're inviting somebody over and if they're making, not everyone's happy to have that person in the house. It's not going to work, and you don't want that child to feel any kind of animosity or or well, I don't really want you here type feeling. So it might be that that partner's just afraid or doesn't know enough or has to be more informed, and you can't push yourself on anyone. You can't do that. So you have to be together on this. You've got to say, well, I would like to do this and I need your support. Without you, I can't do it. But we have an organization called, and I bless Kiran and her in the VG up in Delhi. We have an organization called Sahara Sisterhood.com. So this is another thing that I run, and I run this for my work. So Sahara Sisterhood.com is where women get together and they support each other through these difficult situations where they are allowed to find tools and mechanisms to help them with their life and also in their relationships with their partners, to maybe give them the tools to help them on their journey ahead. So everyone's situation is difficult and unique, but Sahara Sisterhood is giving the structure, the tools, the mechanisms to then encourage more and more people to get on doing this kind of work. And the work's not possible unless you have harmony at home. You can't do this unless there's harmony at home. And sometimes, like I said, it's just building an awareness. Ke koi gal nahi, don't be afraid. Fikr nahi karo. It's not going to be hard. Let's try. Let's go and meet somebody. Let's go into a family who've got a child. And I've done that. I've had 3 families recently in the UK that have visited other families who are looking after a child who is not their own, a foster care, and they changed their mind. When they came back, they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize. Then they can ask questions, we can arrange phone calls, we can arrange Zoom meetings online, you can talk to another family who are already doing it. I've got a friend in Derby, he's been doing this for years. He's so wonderful, and his wife, and they say, Benji, don't worry, we'll talk to anyone, we'll give them any information they need. Okay, when you speak to somebody who's already done it, there's a bit of a, you get a bit of himmat and courage, don't you? Or single border te ki ho raha, farmers ki ho raha. Then you go there and you see it's raining, it's devastating situation, but people are in Chardi Kala. How do we know? When we didn't go, somebody's sending us pictures, they're doing videos, they're doing social media. That's how we're learning, sitting in this country, what's going on there. And then it relaxes you. So I think let's help people to take the fear away, take the stigma and the taboo away, and ignite that flame of Chardi Kala and Sirbatta Kala.
So Benji, one more question I have. So what is the process? Is there a cost in the process of actually applying for the fostering care?
No, normally there's no cost. You might have to have a little DBS or CRB checked or whatever. Normally the agency pays for that for you anyway, but there's no registration costs normally or anything like that. It's free to join, free to register. Like I said, you do have to be committed. So, when the first initial question, people are like, oh, too many questions, they're both kuch puch rahe, we don't want to, but that's where we step in and say, don't worry, thodi questions hoenge, it's okay, we'll help you get through them, but they have to know the answers to those questions before they putting somebody's life into your hands, into your care. So they've got to be rigorous, and we've got to understand that they're not asking questions. I think, our people are like, oh, I don't want them to know too much about me, or, there's nothing to hide if there's nothing to hide, So don't be afraid of that initial process. It can be daunting, but we are there. We will support you through that process. You can get in touch with us, send us an email. Like I said, khalsafostering.org. Have a look online. We're on Instagram now. We've got a web page. We're just, we're babies starting as well. But with the Sangat, we will grow. And with your, the Guru's, pathway is always the Sahara of the Sangat. If you have the Sangat behind you and you're honest about with what you're doing, it's not a money-making enterprise. It's purely and purely jehde bache nu right hai, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਮਾਂ ਪਿਓ ਦਾ ਪਿਆਰ ਮਿਲੇ, and they haven't got that. It's not their fault. And we need to be there for them, step in, be there and support them. That's all we can do. If it's a child in Punjab or a child in Australia or a child, they're all the same children, right? They're all belongs to Vaheguru. They've come on this earth for in a journey. I will say to you, I know this one child who I was teaching in Canada, and she had a hole in her heart when she was born. She was left by a tree in India, and the parents decided to fly over and find a child because they couldn't have a child of their own. That child is now, in a Western country in Canada. She's thriving. She's a teenager, doing well now, but somebody left her by a tree just because they couldn't afford, whatever. So what I'm saying to you is, where there's a will, there's a way. Vaheguru dekhda. Vaheguru vich both power hai. And if we let Vaheguru take over, we will find a way to get these kids nice, stable homes. But Guru gave them birth, so Guru will take care. But we need to be the people to make that happen. Find that method, be there for them, and become that stable, secure, kinyotiki, valuniki. We know this path is jagged as a sword, as thin as a hair. It's not easy to be a Sikh, but it is easy if you make that commitment, because then Guru takes over. And once you have Guru on your side, everything works, right? The doors open. Things that we can't even imagine start happening. And I know both of you are powerful women and you believe that when you make that commitment, you would say, that's it, I surrendered, I'm going to do this. Then it's political all the way.
No, you're right. Thank you. Look, we would love to thank you today for joining us, Navleen Benji. It's been amazing with your, sharing your wonderful journey and your stories. And if Sangat out there, if you would like to know more, or you'd want to just query about this, and you're just thinking about fostering because you don't have any children, or you do have children and you still want to foster because it's great seva, then please visit casafostering.com and get in touch with the team, because they will help you. .org, sorry, so casafostering.org. And Govinda Benji, is there any last comments from yourself?
I think just thank you to Navleen Penji for sharing all this, immense information and, bringing us across this seva. I think it's very important for our community to come across this service. And as I said, because the community is growing all over the world in different parts of the countries, and I myself know that only in Australia we know of many families, I know broken families as well as the kids who actually need foster care. Someone need to come and, there are future generations. Someone need to hold their hand, and we would like to explore similar kind of fostering, in Australia as well. And we might get in touch with you, Penji, in future.
I look forward to it, and we want to spread our wings. We need Australians, Canadians, everyone to be on board. Ik bhi sada bacha, Sikh bacha. The dream is that not one single bacha should be out there. Any child, to be honest. But obviously, we start at home with our own. Let's take care of them. They need us. Let's provide resources. You could be a maths teacher, and you could say, oh, actually, I'll teach maths for free, 1 hour a week. Help ho jayegi. Anything you can do from the comfort of your own home. Please help us to get involved. Send us an email, say you want to do something, tell us your skills, send us your CV, give us the time you've got available. And if you can, speak to your Gurdwaras, your management team, say, can we arrange a fostering awareness day? Can we have 5 minutes on the stage? We will give you all the material. You speak about it. We don't want to do any, it's no ownership. This project is the Sangat's project. You take out time, get a foster care agency, Gori or whoever they are in the area, bring them to the stage in your Gurdwara. Let her have 5 minutes. Let her have a stall outside the Gurdwara. I know we've got to wait till this whole COVID thing blows over, but it won't last forever. Things will change, and we will hold your hand wherever we can. But please get the message out there for us. And thank you so much, because I know today wouldn't have been possible if Ranjit Banji hadn't reached out. And I've seen her tirelessly work hard for children throughout, the Sangat and the community. So Sing Station and the Sikh colouring, you're on that journey with children anyway. So please do, wherever you can, just support the cause, because we can't do it without you. And we're waiting for more and more of you to join.
No, thank you so much, Benji. Thank you for joining our show today. We've learned so much, and I hope Sangat have learned as well. And we'll see you all again next week with another topic. If you've got any comments or a specific topic that you would like covered, please give us an email at hello@thekaurshow.com, or you want to see any of our previous shows, then please visit our website, thekaurshow.com. Thank you all. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.